Good day friends, Michael here, and in this video we're going to talk about how to make your own fertilizer, organically of course, because that's all we're doing here. We don't mess around with chemicals. It's pretty straightforward. You need a couple of things, and there can be variation in those things, but you need all the things, okay? First thing you need is a container with a lid. This can be a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. It can be a 30-gallon bucket with a lid. It can be a 50-gallon barrel with a lid. Very important that you have a lid. And we're going to come back to why that is in a second. The next is clean water. I'm going to do a video on water. We're going to do some deep dives on water. Water's incredibly interesting. There's all different kinds of waters. And the waters have different effects. What's important to know is that if you're going to make your own fertilizer and you're on city water, which is probably the worst kind of water you can use. It's got chlorine and fluorine, and here in Wilmington we have perfluorinated chemicals, so-called forever chemicals. Municipal waters are messes all over the place. So if you are using municipal water, very important that you do this. If you can't run the water through a filter and you just have to use the straight stuff, put it in your container before you add anything else. Let it sit for at least a day. And what that will do is it will create a situation where those volatile compounds can off-gas. They can come out of the water. So if you have to use city water, you fill up your container with the water and then you just let it sit for a day, and maybe even a little bit longer if you want, okay? The next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need soil microbial life. There are many places to get soil microbial life. You can buy it from me. The Good Dirt has full of soil microbial life in it. Or you could make your own, or you could go outside to a very rich location and just grab a handful of leaf duff, just leaf stuff on the ground. That can be all the life you need. The next is you're going to need a feedstock for your fertilizer. And so this is where the organic matter comes in. And I have here food waste, but it can be all kinds of things. For example, if you like to eat bell peppers and you have lots of bell peppers laying around, you can save all those bell pepper pieces and throw them in your container with your water and your life. And what will happen is the soil life will start breaking down the material and give you a fertilizer that's particularly good for plants that are fruiting, because peppers are a fruit. You get it? If you took some animal bones and threw that in the same mixture, well, then you're going to have a greater phosphorus count, because the life that you're putting in there is going to suck that, process those materials, those minerals out from the bones and make them bioavailable in your fertilizer solution. We'll talk more about all that later. Just trying to get your mind going about the things that you add to your fertilizer are going to contribute to your final product. Finally, we need a diverse array of minerals, and sea salt provides that. The microbial life lives on electrical currents, or they don't live on it, but electromagnetism is a big part of this whole thing. And this is why we need sea salt, because sea salt has all of these minerals in it that are absolutely necessary for life, not only for the construction and maintenance of the bodies of the organisms and the beings, but also for the electrical conductivity to how these beings can send signals to each other and communicate with each other. You're going to want some sea salt in probably almost every fertilizer that you make because of this very principle. You want a broad spectrum of minerals, but you want them in low quantities. So, to wrap up, you're going to need a container with a lid. You're going to need some clean water. You're going to need some kind of soil microbial life. You're going to need some kind of organic matter to act as your main feedstock for your fertilizer. And you're going to want some sea salt in there for sure, absolutely. If you'd like more information on this, I have just described what is called a JADAM JLF. That stands for JADAM Liquid Fertilizer. So you can search that in your Google machines or your YouTubes and come up with all sorts of information about all that. We'll go into depth on all this stuff later, and we'll talk about how to make a more refined fertilizer tailored to your specific needs in future episodes. For now, thanks for joining me.